So I'll record it. Just going to record it on my computer. Now I'm going to take us live on Facebook. And to my page.
I don't know if you can see, but this is a crested gecko.
Oh, look at who is that?
Her name is Cooper.
Cooper? Very hi, Cooper. Cooper's like, oh, I'm not ready for all these paparazzi to look at me.
I know they're normally nocturnal, so she's like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah, it's like, should be sleeping, right?
Yeah, I've got 45 of these guys.
Oh my gosh. Now these are your personal?
Yep, these are mine.
Okay. Look at that.
So can all 45 of them live in the same space, or how does that work?
I've got all individual enclosures for them.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've got a 12 by 12 bedroom that's just the gecko room. It's got all the geckos. I've got 5 gargoyle geckos in there and also 5 tarantulas.
Wow.
So you have some cleaning and maintenance to do all the time, don't you?
Yeah, I keep it up all the time, keep on top of it so that way I don't have to do any real deep cleaning. So if I stay on top of the cleaning on a regular basis.
Cute. And we got a
She's
fuzzy
cute.
one. A fuzzy one there joining us.
Yeah, Leo, as Leo was listening about Cooper and the geckos.
It's like, oh,
He-
this is fun.
He really likes joining in on the animal stuff, like once a month, when Kathleen kind of challenged some of us back at the beginning of COVID to do like a community outreach Zoom meetings for people. And so I still do that just once a month. And he more and more comes to make sure he's part of those meetings.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Excellent. So today is just Q&A. So this is all about you guys. I got to grab a pen in case I need to write something down. Any questions you have, anything you want to share? That's what today is about. So let's see. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to share? Let's start with that.
Well, I can think of something, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. Please.
So I was talking with another friend who's an Animal Reiki practitioner and also part of the Let Animals Lead group.
Okay.
And we were talking about a question that has kind of come up over time for both of us, in that what happens for people when they're kind of have their own, whether they're not practicing the 5 precepts or they're not working on their own self-growth, practicing a self-Reiki, maybe they've got mental health issues, maybe they're just negative people. So when they offer Reiki, what happens to that energy? Sometimes people ask questions like, can people bring forth their own negative energy? Or again, how does that work?
Right. So you're talking about maybe somebody who's negative or isn't doing their own work, and they're actually practicing the Let Animals Lead method.
Or any Reiki.
Or any Reiki. Okay. Yeah. So what I believe is going to happen, well, we're not going to be able to really connect as well. And I know I've seen that when I'm not doing my work, like sometimes, life gets in the way, you get busy.
Right.
And I notice it when I start to get like kind of weird and crazy and things are bothering me and I'm short-tempered and I resist meditating, and that's when I need to meditate the most, right? So it definitely affects us when we don't do our own self-practice. We're not as as capable of connecting to the animals because our energy isn't in a good place. And it's not because like we would be able to connect better. What it is the animals don't want to connect with us. And so when people, and I don't care if you're doing even any other kind of Reiki, when it comes to animals, because they are just so much above us, they're going to feel that right away. They're going to know that we are not in a good place, that we're, we're a mess. Maybe they'll want to come and try to help us. So they might try to connect that way. But for the most part, I think that they're not going to want to connect with us. And they may say no, even, and just, leave the room, walk away. That's kind of been my experience. When I'm not in a good place, the animals don't want to be with me, so rather than try to offer Reiki to an animal when I'm not in a good place, I work on myself. And what I found is like my animals come and be with me. And sometimes other animals come to be with me. But it's not because I'm trying to offer them Reiki, it's because I'm trying to work on myself.
But you have that self-awareness where some people don't have that.
Right.
They don't or can't acknowledge their limitations that way, or some of the issues, or, honestly, a lot of people have a lot of baggage that they bring with them, maybe unresolved stuff that, again, they may not be aware of, they may not be wanting to work on. So, so that for a variety of reasons, people don't do their own self-practice.
Right. Absolutely. And, sometimes we can easily, I think, getting caught up in our ego. Because here we are, we're the Reiki people, right? We're the animal Reiki people. Animals should always come to us. They should respond because we see them do that a lot.
Right.
I mean, they really do respond to us and they find us. So then you start thinking, well, yeah, that's what it should be. And other Reiki, and even I suppose maybe some people and let animals lead, but especially other Reiki lineages, they believe they're the healers. And we're really not healing animals. We're not the great healers. We're just holding space for the animal to step in and heal themselves. Or, for even if the owners are there, for the owner to step in and heal themselves. But they have to be willing to do that. And you're right. People carry a lot of baggage, and that will affect their self-care, how they're working on themselves. That's why that's so important. That's why level 1, really, yes, you learn how to connect to animals, but it's everything you learn in self 1 is to help yourself. Because we have to, if we're going to be able to go into a space and, just hold space for the animals and have them connect with us and want to connect with us.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to worry about somebody who's negative, like a client who's negative, affecting you. Now, it might be if the caregiver's there and they're really negative and the animal's there, that the whole session may be affected. I don't think it's going to do anything to you per se. It may affect how the animal responds during that session.
Then the questions have been to myself and this other person have been more specific to what if you have an animal Reiki or any Reiki practitioner, again, animals or not, that it just carries forth a lot of their own negative energy. Is that then bringing your negative energy? Is that carry forth somehow into Reiki? What does that do? So.
Right. And again, I think it just prohibits how well you can connect with the animal, how well you can even offer Reiki to them, whether or not they'll even accept it. I think it just won't be as successful. and hopefully if there's people out there who are noticing that, and it could be a good sign for us, right? If we notice animals aren't responding, well, they have a choice, of course, and it doesn't mean they're always saying no. But then it could also be that what's going on with me? Maybe it's time to look at that. And I think that's the key, that we remain humble enough that we always, we're aware that animals just may have off days where they don't want the Reiki, right? I'm just not feeling like a session right now, or I'd rather go out and play or whatever. And then there's times when they're picking up on our energy that it's really, they're just like, no, this doesn't feel good. I don't want to be around this. And part of our self-care, I think, teaches us how to recognize that. So if a practitioner isn't doing their own self-care, it's gonna like you're gonna hit a wall, and you're only gonna be able to go so far. And unfortunately, I think if you have people out there doing that, it kind of makes it hard for everyone. Because if I go and I'm in this, if I'm just really negative or whatever, and I go to a client's house and the animal doesn't accept it because of that bad energy I'm bringing in, then the owner is going to think what? Oh, this doesn't work, or, so
Right.
it kind of makes it hard for everybody who's really trying to do their own self-care and work the program. Now, I think even if we're working our program, we're going to have baggage that we come in with, but I think it's our intent too. So, it's like if I go in and I know I have issues and, things that have happened. And of course I have this baggage. I've been on the planet for 63 years. So things have happened, things have happened. But if I go in with the intent to the animals, that I'm just there because I love you. I'm coming with compassion and open heart. I want to hold space for you. The animal will overlook all that. And they're going to know, yeah, I'm damaged, I'm a little bit damaged, but I love you and I'm here to hold space for you. And they can respond to that. It's when we can't recognize that about ourselves or say that, like, yeah, I got issues, but I'm here because I love you. Most of the time people who have those kind of issues, they're there to heal the animals, right? Their intent is, I'm going to come and fix you. And the animal might be like, fix me. You can't even fix yourself.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I think that's kind of, how I see the animals responding. And it's unfortunate that we have people, that aren't doing their practice, that are kind of in that space trying to go and just heal, because that makes it much more difficult for all of us. But I think if we have the right intention, we do our self-care, we have the right intention, the animals will respond to us.
Thank you.
I hope that answered it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's one of those questions that's probably kind of complicated, And I think because my belief is that with Reiki being about, love and compassion, positive energy, the energy of Reiki doesn't get tainted. We, like you said, we may not be as effective at being able to be part of that sharing and offering and whatever for a variety of reasons, but it's not the Reiki energy that becomes negative. We may not be the right source for being part of that flow.
Yes, that's a good
capable
point.
at that moment. So I feel, because I know years ago, somebody asked me, because they knew somebody who had some pretty serious mental health issues and was very vindictive and manipulative. And she said she practiced Reiki. And this woman was scared about that because she said, can she do harm? Could she somehow use energy for negative? And I said, Not in my opinion, because Reiki, by the nature of what Reiki is positive.
Mhm.
Now, can she do something else energetically? I don't know. That's kind of beyond my scope of
Right.
knowledge. But if she's actually practicing Reiki, Reiki's all good.
Yes.
She may not be good, but Reiki's all good. So,
Yes, and I have run into people like that, you know, that you kind of wonder why they're doing Reiki. Because again, their intent isn't the best. It isn't about compassion. It isn't about just love and openness and holding space. And they have issues of their own, you
Mhm.
know. And I can remember when I first learned Reiki, and this was years ago, 18 years ago, I think. And it was the typical human Reiki that's taught in the West. And I came home, and then all these things started happening. Like I'd be driving down the street and there'd be this horrific car accident in front of me. And I was working in law enforcement at the time. And I was going to crime scenes more often. And then somebody I knew was killed in a motorcycle accident. And it got to the point where I called my teacher up and I said, "What did you do to me?" And she goes, "What are you talking about?" And, you know, I told her all these things have been going on. And she said, "Reiki is compassionate and loving." She said, "Now you will be put where healing is needed, but you don't have to stay there. You always have that choice." And so that helped me a lot because I just, you know, found myself having these horrific things happen, you know, in my presence. And after she told me that, it's like, okay, so I don't have to stay in this present. I can say, no, you know, I'm not up for this. And it stopped happening. Um, I don't think she did anything to me at all as far as, you know, it's just that I was confused because I didn't know when I first,
yeah,
you know, this is my first Reiki class ever.
right.
And all this stuff starts happening. And I'm like, what did you do to me? And she didn't do anything, you know, she did not cause that. You know, whether, I don't know why it happened, but.
Say again, I got distracted for a second. So you said that she said love is about compassion, and I think you said
Reiki
loving
is, yeah, Reiki is, she said it's love and compassion, and it always works for the highest good.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, and so she said, yeah, that it, and then she did say, I think she said the universe will put you where healing is needed, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean you have to stay there. So again, you know, back to, I have a choice in that. And that was, you know, the first of many human type of Reiki classes that I took before I found Let Animals Lead. So I did see, you know, something with that, but for me, something was always missing with the human Reiki, and I couldn't tell you what it was. So I just kept taking classes trying to figure it out. And then when I found the Let Animals Lead, it started to make more sense to me, because that's what I was looking for. I wasn't looking to be a healer and to do all these things. I was looking to go inward and find that space in me that's perfection and allow that to shine outward. And when I found that missing piece, then things made more sense. And who knows, maybe other people are out there practicing Reiki like I was, that something's always missing. So they have that, you know, just this inside of them that something's missing in the system. And then that makes it hard to connect with people or animals.
For me, you know, I, you know, kind of had, you know, kind of similar, you know, experiences. Like I took, you know, the first 2 levels of Reiki through one teacher, and it just, I don't know, I kind of felt lost, it's like they were more on the spiritual side of things and archangels and that side. And it just, I kept trying to force my was, and it's like, I'm just really not connecting with that. I just don't feel it. And then I realized afterwards, it's like, okay, there are different types of Reiki. It's like at that, like I said, at that time, I didn't realize that there were, different types. So,
Mhm.
and that was, in the meantime, was connecting with Leah, waiting for the classes to start up again last year. And we had kind of kept touch, like every month or so throughout last year until the class started in October. But then things really started to connect, once I started with the Let Animals Lead method. It's like, okay, this is what I was missing. This is what I need, so it just kind of really brought things together for me, into a space that I needed. So
Mhm. Did you notice a difference with when you work with the animals, with Let
uh,
Animals Lead compared to the like traditional Western style Reiki?
definitely, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, definitely. It was a missing piece for me because, I came from a background in law enforcement, 13 years in law enforcement. I spent 14 years in fire prevention, very conservative fields. I don't consider myself that conservative, and I do consider myself spiritual, but for some of it, it was just too much. I feel like I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm just Reiki on a more traditional plane. I want to bring it in um, to how most people live their life. Yes, they have their spiritual beliefs, but a lot of people aren't really out there. They're not the woo woo, because Reiki has a woo woo reputation, right? And I've never been woo woo. And so for me, that was kind of part of the struggle with the human Reiki. It's like, okay, there's parts of this that I can understand, I can believe, but there's parts that I just can't. There's something missing for me. And Let Animals Lead was really the answer to that.
yeah, definitely,
Mhm.
definitely, definitely pulled me into a much better space. And
Yes.
then I took my level 3 class a couple weeks ago through a teacher that teaches the more traditional style Reiki, the more focus on the origins of Reiki. And that just, it's like, okay, this is, what this is for me, what it's all about. That's, I just felt so much better, and just being able to take better care of myself, and being able to see the connection now too between the Let Animals Lead and the traditional Japanese style of Reiki, the hands off, that Usui never, did, it wasn't noted that he did hands on, that
Right.
it was meditative based. So it really helped put a lot of pieces together for me. And
Yeah. I think the meditation part of Let Animals Lead is so powerful. Meditation is powerful, right?
yeah,
We know it changes our brain. The science is there, the studies they've done on it, how powerful meditation can be for people. And so as we meditate, we're changing our brain, we're changing our hearts, we're changing as people, becoming more compassionate and kind, and that's the energy that we put out there. So of course, animals are going to respond better to that, I believe.
Yeah. And I found too, even working with the snakes, that even just doing a brief meditation before I start, working with them, as soon as I go in, just before I get started, I'll sit down and do just a 3-minute meditation, just, all is well. And just, it seems to just put like a calm over the whole room, and it helps settle the snakes down. So
That's pretty cool. I've never worked with reptiles, so I'm trying to think if I've ever worked with a reptile, but I don't think I have. Well, my tortoise, I guess
Yeah.
she's a reptile, isn't she? Kind of,
Yeah.
yeah. The desert tortoise, and she, well, one time I brought her in the house because she lives outside. They have to live outside, and so I brought her in briefly. She was sitting on my lap and I was just meditating, and she just kind of relaxed enough to, just kind of poop in my lap, which is not a big deal. They're just like white things that come out, it's not like a dog or a cat. Um, and so she relaxed, but she loves it. Like when I go out into her enclosure and I sit with her and just meditate, and like she loves to have her shell rubbed, because the shell, when they have a design on there, and then the little sections in between the designs are alive. That's live skin. And so when you rub that, it feels really good for them. So I guess I have worked with reptiles, with her, and I've seen her respond.
Yeah, I love my little tortoise, especially my Herman's tortoise. Rub her back, and she does a little dance, does a whole little wiggle dance.
Right, right. Joan, do you have any questions that you would like to ask or experiences to share?
Um, Thanks for asking. It's just funny how I got to Animal Reiki, because my cat just jumped down. I had visited an animal sanctuary in upstate New York where we used to live, and with my son, actually, his tutor in the school that he went to said, "Oh, they're doing a benefit at this. It's called Heart's Herd Animal Sanctuary in Buskirk, New York." So nobody probably has heard of it. And she said they're doing it. They're inviting, all the kids who want to come, and they serve strawberry shortcake. And would you and Sean like to come? So I said, sure, that would be great. And it was the first, I'm sure I'd been to an animal sanctuary before that. This is before I even practiced Reiki. And I was learning an energy technique called integrated energy therapy, which that was also something I did back in New York. So the energy and the animals was sort of percolating at that time. We ended up getting our kitty. She was in a cage of kittens that were abandoned by a mother cat. And my son said, "I want the black and white one." And we ended up getting her. She just jumped off the couch, so I can't show you to her. But, having my introduction with integrated energy therapy, I knew I was doing yoga. I was learning Kundalini yoga. So I was really in touch with, modalities of, self-discovery and, movement and things like that. And so my Kundalini teacher actually introduced me to IET, and I couldn't find it out here when I moved to California. And so I started learning Reiki through People Reiki, got my People Reiki master, and that was great, except for I just kept having this calling to animals, and found Kathleen and said, I started walking dogs at the time, and the whole thing just gelled that way. After meeting Kathleen, of course, it was all Zoom, even though I live right down the street from Kathleen. Part of our training was at Lily's Legacy, a sanctuary just north of here in Petaluma. And that was the first time. And it's senior dogs. And, Kathleen, the way she just is such a great instructor. She's, when we started going, we were learning outside, and then we'd go inside to where the dogs were. And she said, don't be upset if when we start our meditation that dogs don't come right over to you, because that's not the goal. The goal is to really focus on the nothingness of meditation and the intent of your purpose in the meditation, but not to have dogs come all over you as a result of the meditation. And so I did, let go of that hope, right off the bat, because I didn't know this was level 1 Animal Reiki.
Right.
And at the end, one of the black labs came over and sat right on my feet. And, but she said, and also if they do come over to you, you don't feel like you have to pet them, because they like what you bring as far as energy. It's not about always touch.
Mhm.
So that, that sort of drew me into the fact that there's something to this, and it's not all about me, because being somebody who's owned, cats and dogs for years, as an owner of a pet, you think, well, I'm kind of the it. Well, love is universal, and it certainly joins us to our pets. But working with animals that aren't mine, I thought this is going to be a challenge right away, because they don't know me.
Mhm.
And I hope I can bring my best self to that scenario. And then when I started volunteering up at the sanctuary that I go to now in Sonoma, it was challenged, because I kind of was still, there was a little bit of still hope that the animals were going to come to the fence, because I really do most of my meditations not inside the pastures or paddocks or pens, because I find that I don't want to be in their space unless I'm with somebody who works there.
Mhm.
Or if I do go into their, any particular space that I do now with these chickens I was telling you about last week.
Yes.
Oh my God, you guys! I mean, I'm my post on All Is Well Animal Reiki last week was these chickens. I mean, they came and sat on me, and they literally were like, their little heads were coming up to my head, like, to kiss me or thank me, or so I go in there with very little, my expectation level is low. I'm not there to fill me. I'm there to bring the best of what I can do energetically through meditation to them. And if the benefits end up being good for them, and they want to thank me, that's just terrific. But I'm not always looking for that,
Yeah.
that payback, if you call it that. But it does always really, warm my heart when they want to. And so 2 sat right on my legs, and then after I opened my eyes, I realized there were like 5 of them under my chair. I really felt like the mother hen, in this little, enclosure for a half an hour. And it
Mhm.
just, for me, it doesn't get better than that. It really doesn't, because I love the relationship.
And it is so nice to see them respond. I mean, I know, we have to let go of that and just be present and hold space. But there's just something when you see them respond. I was out at a sanctuary where I teach classes, and of course the animals know me, but it's summer, so I don't go out there in the summer usually. And so I had a student, and we were out there, and we were just going to stand where the horses were. And in this sanctuary, I mean, the animals just roam there. There's a few fields because some of the pigs don't get along, so they have their little areas. But basically I can just walk in and go anywhere, and I can be right up and close personal to the animals, because they know me. I'm on the board now. But so we were standing there with the horses, and all of a sudden the turkey came, And the horse was like, you could tell the horse was like, well, I don't know. And it really wasn't settling in. But then I looked, and here's the turkey laying right down at my feet. And I've seen that sometimes with the emus. They come and they just lay right down when you're offering, maybe thinking you're going to offer it to some of the pigs that are out in this field. And then pretty soon here comes the emus, because they come from wherever they are. And it feels really good. And then there was just last week, yeah, I guess, somebody abandoned a rooster. I live in Las Vegas. There is a big empty parking lot. There's a big 2-story building that's been empty forever, and it has a huge parking lot. And I heard it was early in the morning, and I heard this rooster crowing. Well, I'm like, I've never heard a rooster. We're kind of in an area where you can have chickens, because we have bigger lots, that type of thing. Nobody's ever had a rooster. I've never heard a rooster before. And so I kind of got up on this hill and peeked over my wall, and I saw a guy. There's a cell tower there, and he was by the generator. It's all encaged, and locked up. And I thought, oh, maybe it's somebody's homeless, because we have a lot of homeless people who like to camp out there and stuff. And so I didn't think too much of it, but I still heard the rooster. And I thought, well, maybe he has a pet rooster, because you don't know. I mean, I'm sure maybe he could. So I didn't think much of it. And then later that day, and now we were 110, we were in an excessive heat warning. I went out with the dogs, and I heard him crow again. And this time he sounded really pitiful. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go over there and see if he needs help. I need to take water. Maybe I need to take some water for his owner, if he is homeless. So I need to go deal with this, and hopefully it'll all go well. And so I took a jug of water, and I went over there, and I didn't see the person. I didn't see any indication that anybody was camped out there or anything. And then I saw the rooster, and he was right where he had been left. Fortunately, there was a little bit of shade for him. There was a box with holes punched in it. So he'd been in the box, and he managed to get out. They'd put a bowl of water down, which by now was probably 110 degrees, and a little bit of food. So I went up, and I was talking to him, and I gave him, I had brought cool water, and I gave him some of that, and he got a big drink. And then everything was going well. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Then I turned my back on him, and he attacked me. And boy, did he attack me. And he's like, I mean, he drew blood. And I'm like, hey. And so I'm like trying to get back to my car. And I'm like, okay. And then he went back, and I'm like, well, this isn't good. So I was going somewhere. I was going to a concert that night. And so I came back here, and I'm like, I can't leave him there. I called animal control, got nowhere with that. They didn't respond. So I cut up some fruit, and I took that over, and he tried to get me again. So I dumped the fruit out really quick. And then I'm like, okay. So I came home that night, and I posted all over Facebook. I'd taken pictures of him, blah, blah, blah. Well, who knew in Las Vegas, Nevada, we have a Facebook chicken group for people who live in Las Vegas. And somehow all my rescue friends started sharing. It got on there. Young man got a hold of me, and he's like, I don't want or need another rooster, but I will come get him if nobody gets him, and I will keep him safe, because he apparently had chickens and some other thing, birds, doves. And so I said, well, when you come, just let me know, and I'll try to help catch him, because there's a busy road, that he could run to. And he's like, okay, and then the next thing I know, he said, I'll probably be there in the afternoon. This was morning. An hour later, I get this picture, and he's holding the rooster, and he's taking a selfie, and he sent it to me. I'm like, you must be like a chicken whisperer, because I said, I got attacked. And he said, well, he flew up to attack me, but I just grabbed him in a hug and held him, and then he calmed down. So I'm like, oh, well, good. See, so but he's safe now. And I think, I think it's just a good lesson for me, because here I am, the animal Reiki person, and I'm being run to my car from the chicken, from the rooster, because he's drawing blood and everything else. And then this guy comes up and puts him in a hug, lets him come at him, and then just puts him in a hug, and he calmed down. He said he's just terrified, which I knew he was. He was really scared. He'd spent the night there. He didn't move off that little island that they left him on. So now he's with other chickens, and he will be well taken care of until he finds him a good home. But so that was my rooster story. It's like, and it felt really good, to make sure he was safe. And it's like, it's nice when you win one once in a while.
So nice.
Yeah. So I don't know if Julia can come on. She's been off camera, so maybe she's in a position where she can't. If you have any questions, you can always put them in the chat, Julia, and we can talk about them. So anybody have anything else?
No, that was a good story. So thanks for sharing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was good to see him go home. Let's see if I can find.
I had another little quick story.
Sure.
Last week, my sister had a horse who she rode 3-gated, competitively, and her horse, his name was Impulsive, kind of for a reason. And I mean, once she got on his back and rode around the ring, I mean, he was perfectly fine. But she had him at her house in New Hampshire, and many, many years ago, I mean, this is so long ago, she's like, oh, let's go for a ride on Impulsive. I was like, oh, are you sure? And, he ended up bucking both of us off. I was okay because I fell on top of my sister. But I still always had kind of this not really great, feeling of calm around horses, So last week at the sanctuary, I thought, I kind of poked my head in. There are 3 horses. 2 were out in the pasture and 1 was inside. And I went in and I was standing not too close to her. And I thought, I asked her if she would like, Reiki. And, again, without expectation, I just went into a short meditation based on, the precepts, and, sort of acknowledging my prior fear of horses, and just, kind of looking to just balance the scales so that she could be the recipient of whatever, energy that was created in this very short meditation that I did. And at the end, she kind of leaned her nose like towards me, and I did, give her a little pet, and I thanked her profusely. I said, thank you so much for allowing me to share this space with you, and create, this beautiful energy that was created with this meditation. And I walked out, and I really almost felt like crying, because it was such a large step for me in the, and not that I was afraid, because there wasn't me and her in the stall. I didn't go in her stall. I was outside, but just to be able to feel that, the trust and the opening of what was there to offer was great. It was unbelievable.
That's beautiful. And I think it really demonstrates how important our intent is. It's not about hand positions. It's not about channeling anything. It's about our intent and just becoming quiet and holding space.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Julia, she loved the rooster story. Julia has chickens and ducks, 5 dogs, 2 cats, and volunteers at a local rescue. So yeah, I'm sure you have some stories to tell, and maybe sometime you can come on and share some of those stories with us, because I think that'd be great.
Hey, Joan, have you read Kathleen's book on horses, the Reiki for horses?
I haven't. I bet you I have it though.
Uh,
I bet you
Yeah.
I have it and I haven't read it.
yeah, that one's a really good one. So
Thank you. Wonder if I have it.
And I think that,
Virtues.
like when you brought up that story, Joan, that part of what I really am grateful for with Reiki is that, or the way we practice Animal Reiki is that we don't have to be with them, because I too have been, and maybe different than yours, but I've been very afraid of horses and have been very inexperienced with them. And I had a friend that she lived like on a kind of a small farm where she had horses and her own cats, and people would drop off cats, and she had chickens and ducks. And so I got to practice Reiki when I was first learning it with all kinds of animals. And her horses, I got to watch them. I couldn't be in with them because I was too afraid to be in. So I always had to have something separating me. And I could still physically see her horses respond to Reiki. And it was so amazing to me how what I saw happen with them, that I thought I have to find a way to be around horses more. And at that time, Kathleen offered because that was when Brighthaven still existed. And so she offered an equine Reiki, like a weekend. And so I went to that class, very afraid of horses. I was surprised there were other people there just as afraid as me. And then there were some people who were really comfortable. So out of that, I started practicing volunteering at a horse sanctuary. And again, I was so grateful. I didn't have to be with the horses, so I could acknowledge my fear, even because sometimes being close to them with a fence between us was scary for me. But I could acknowledge that because they're going to feel it if I'm afraid. So why not just tell them? And but one horse, one of the first horses I worked with there, who they said to me, she doesn't like people. Don't worry if she doesn't even approach you at the fence, because she was in a medical barn, where she had kind of two areas she could go in, and I stood at her little gate outside of one of the areas. So I thought, okay, well, we'll just see where it goes. Right from day one, that horse came right up to the gate, and her choice. I just was offering Reiki and standing in that quiet, meditative, loving space. And then probably the second or third time, she came up to me, and I kind of was leaning forward, kind of because I was being lazy. And she touched her head to my head. And so that's how we started working together every week when I went there. We just stood and had our foreheads together. And I would put my hands, sometimes I got brave because she was being brave. So we got to share, we helped each other, right? She got braver, I got braver. So then I would put my hands there, and she would come and sniff my hands. And I just let her do what she was comfortable doing. I wasn't trying to touch her and do anything that might make her nervous. And she and I, over the years, developed a wonderful bond. And honestly, it was because this was a horse, like I said, what I'd been told about her. And I started going into her stall. I asked her to help me with that, to overcome my fear. And we just developed wonderful trust in each other. I could stand next to that horse and pet her at that point. Wherever she'd let me pet her, I let her decide. We constantly shared Reiki together. So for her and I feel like that's such an example to me of helping each other grow on that journey and that path together. I'm so grateful that we did that, and it was, to me, one of those times where, because she came into the medical barn for physical issues, But like we always talk, if we share that space and Reiki, they'll get what they need. They get to decide what they're ready for, what they need. And so maybe her growth at that time, or her need, was to become more comfortable with people, because that could reduce her anxiety. That
Right.
could help her feel better. She could maybe learn that being with people isn't always scary or negative. I don't know. She truly has a special place in my heart. She is just I'm so grateful to that horse.
Absolutely. I know we always talk about, the lessons animals teach us, but we may have lessons for them too. And it sounds like, that could have been the case, that you were both helping each other overcome these fears and heal through that.
And this was a horse a few years ago for the World Animal Reiki Day. Kathleen had and Leah had kind of said, well, anybody that wants to make videos, make some videos and stuff. So this horse is now in a pasture with, I don't know, probably 7 other horses. And I went into the pasture and I was trying to make my video. Her name is Chance, with me and Chance, or like I was talking about her. So this is a horse, again, who I was told, don't worry if she doesn't approach you, to now a number of years later, she comes, she was like right in my face to get in this video. She's like right over my shoulder, ready, like totally into the video. So it was just so funny to that transformation, I used to joke that if she was ever missing, it was because she was in my little I have a small SUV with a sunroof. Said she'll in my SUV with her head out the sunroof,
That would be quite a sight.
because she's a big draft horse. So she's easily 1,000 pounds, maybe 1,200 pounds. So.
Oh, wow. Animals are definitely amazing.
Yes, they are.
They teach us so much if we just take the time to listen.
Yeah.
And that's a gift of this practice, is that we're able to make this connection and listen and realize that we're such a small part of the life that's on this planet. All right. Well, does anybody have anything else, or we could go into our meditation? All right. I'm sitting on a really uncomfortable stool. Let me wiggle around here and try to get comfortable.
I was just going to make one comment that
Go ahead.
I'm the odd one out. It's like everybody's J's. We got Joan, Jean, Julia, Jamie, and then there's me.
Oh my gosh, it is like the J team, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's funny.
The J's and the D team.
That was funny.
Oh, that is funny. All right, so let's go ahead and just kind of sit with our spine straight. Just get ready for our meditation. You can close your eyes if you want. And just start by taking some deep breaths in and out. And you can roll your neck and your head and your shoulders and just release any tension that's you have stored in your body right now. And now let's begin by taking a hara breath, breathing in through our nose, pulling it all the way down to the belly, and then exhaling out. Take another deep breath in, breathing into the hara, down to our belly, just igniting the light that resides there. And then exhale this light out into the space around you. Take another breath in, pulling it all the way down. It ignites the light even brighter. And then exhale out. Take another breath in. Ignite that light with your breath and then exhale the light back out. Just continue to breathe like that. With every inhale, you're igniting the light that lives inside of you, the true self. Grows larger and larger and illuminates every cell in your body until you are just a being of light. Just continue breathing and expanding the light outward. Grows larger and larger, extends out to the heavens. And now set your intention to share this light with any animal, plant, the planet, that you just want to share this light to who's ever open. And now visualize the planet as if you were an astronaut floating in space. Feel the weightlessness of your body, and you're just floating in space, looking down at this beautiful blue planet. You're a being of light that's just melting into the universal energy. And now allow your light to shine down on the planet or up on the planet, however you're viewing it. And it surrounds the planet and wraps it like a comforting blanket. And any animal, mineral, plant that wishes to receive this beautiful warmth of this light is invited to do so. Just hold this space with this beautiful light shining and surrounding the planet. And now give your thanks to the planet and to all life that allows us to survive and flourish, the abundance of the earth. We are grateful for all of it. Allow yourself to begin to move away from this weightlessness. Feel the heaviness of your body. Begin to become aware of it. Begin to become aware of the room that you're in, the seat that you're sitting on. Feel your body resting on it. Now take a deep breath in all the way down to the belly, a nice cleansing breath. Exhale, and just come back to this reality. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. All right. So thank you everyone for being here. I hope you enjoyed the Q&A. We want to do this kind of on a regular basis, maybe once a month, where we do Q&A, where it's just anybody can come, ask questions, bring up a topic. All right. So, and if you're wondering about what we talked about, or had a question, this will be up on the YouTube channel. And this one will also be on Facebook because I'm streaming it to that. So I really appreciate all of you being here though. Thank you.
Thanks. so
Have a
much.
wonderful evening.
You too.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.